Hello.
Hi, Lori. All right. So, hi, everybody. It's Katie Harris, owner and CEO of Nursepreneurs, and I am here with Arjun, who's my operations director, who is awesome. And we're here with the DEP team, which we're going to explain over the next hour what that is and why you should be really, really excited to meet this team. But we have David, Lori, and Julie. You guys want to introduce yourselves and let everybody know who you are?
Sure. Go ahead, Julie.
Okay. Yes. Hi, I'm Julie Gramick. I am an RN. I actually do work with David on doing the demos for the DEP. I'm the vice president of Resilier exosome company that works perfectly with the DEP. And I'm here to answer any questions on the application for your practices.
I'm David Brown. I'm the CEO and founder of DEP Medical. I am the North American exclusive distributor of the technology, which is manufactured in Italy. And we are currently launching the device here in the United States for aesthetic and medical purposes. And it's great to be with you all today. Thank you.
And hi, I'm Laurie Samuelson. I'm the marketing director for the DEP and would be available as a resource to help you get started if you chose to start it in your practice to be able to market it to your patients and be successful with it.
Okay, and there's a Marcika. Is she part of your team?
No.
Okay. All right. Then let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. You guys to your right, there's on the far right, there's something called comments. If you see comments come through, just let me know. I won't be able to see once I share my screen. I won't be able to see the comments until we come back on. But, basically, this is what we're talking about, guys. So, it's a revolutionary new medical device, and it can be used in wellness clinics, med spas, IV hydration. I first came across this, oh my gosh, I guess about November, December of last year, and was really, really excited about it. I actually didn't want to be a med spa, and I still don't really want to be a med spa, but this device fits really, really nicely into my wellness clinic, and we'll talk about what it is, why it fits so nicely. I'll explain how I use it, but I really want to kind of go in and have David, since he's the founder of this, explain what is DEP, where did we come up with this name, and why is it so amazing? David.
All right. So you're going to be my screen clicker.
I will. I'll move the screen.
Bless your heart. Thank you so much. Again, I'm David Brown. I'm the CEO and founder of DEP Medical. So I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, just so you all know. The device is actually manufactured by Mattioli Engineering. They are located in Florence. If any of you, and I highly doubt many of you, were around in the 90s when microdermabrasion first came out, Mattioli was the one who developed microdermabrasion and infiltrated the United States marketplace with those devices. They were workhorses, and to this day, I still stumble across a few in a couple of offices, but many of my providers that purchase those have good memories of a product that worked well and never failed them. So here we go. Next slide, please. So what is DermoElectroPoration, or what is the DEP? And this is the FDA. According to the FDA, it is a Class 2 cleared biophysical alternative to infuse high-weight molecular modalities into the dermis without the use of a needle. So what it really is cutting-edge technology. We're utilizing pulsed electrical energy to infuse any water-soluble device. So let's throw a couple out there. Botox, hyaluronic acid, copper peptides, any regenerative products such as exosomes, amniotic fluid, and even PRP can all be infused 3 to 5 millimeters deep into the dermis without the use of a needle. We utilize a system referred to as predictive permeation. Predictive permeation in layman's terms is if you had a drywall, a piece of drywall on your wall, and it wasn't painted, and you took a roller going up and down, you knew that you would get an application that is uniform up and down that entire wall. The device does the same thing with the dermis. it infuses very uniformly whatever product you happen to want to be using into the dermis. Next slide, please.
Yeah, I was going to say I like that too because I did the PRP infusion into my neck and I was really, really excited about it because I do not do like cannulas. And we'll be talking about it, but I just want to throw that in there because I was so excited about it.
Yeah, well, I love because you're one of my, you purchased the device in late December, early January. We've been working together now 6 months, Katie, and you've taken to it like a fish with water. So any real world experience, and Julie, you as well, you've had yours since last October. So any real world experience, jump in by all means. So mechanism of action, I think I kind of explained it. So any water soluble device, what we do is we put the pulse electrical energy field onto the dermis. Your patients report back that it feels like a TENS unit. It's a different, unique sensation, but there's no pain associated with it. So the trick is, next slide, please, is what it does is it opens up your glycosaminoglycan channels. Basically, these are water channels that we all have in our dermis. And for a millisecond, by a millisecond, I mean about a quarter of a second, we open up those channels and the the device drives the product down into the reticular dermis, clearly where we would like the majority of the things to be placed. Next slide, please. Thank you. So again, I kind of went through this with the glycosaminoglycan channels. The other thing that it does is so that it does not damage the cells. Old school iontophoresis had an issue. You had to ground your patient, had to put a pH patch. It used a negative and positive energy, just a little history lesson. And what it did, though, that it often damaged the molecular structure of whatever product they were trying to use. So it was really not that effective. Mattioli has perfected DermoElectroPoration. So what you put on the dermis, on the surface of the skin, is what is driven into the reticular dermis. And this is kind of a really good, I like this slide a lot. It's just this is what it looks like, in a drawing. And that's precisely how it works. And again, another great example. And there's pulse, so you see where it's a positive, then a negative, and then the product's driven down. Positive, negative, product's driven down. So there's 3 probes on one particular handle. They all work interchangeably to create a field. It's about 1.5 inches in diameter, maybe 2 inches in diameter, and you slowly work it around the skin. I believe we'll be seeing pictures of that in a little while. Okay? And where you want it, go ahead. So basically what we're using is the skin's water channels, the glycosaminoglycan channels. And it's a controlled pulsed electrical delivery. So you're not having to modify anything or do anything or ground the patient or pH the patient or anything like that. And again, it can infuse anything up to 2 million Dalton weight. Just to give you an example, Botox is 400,000 in Dalton. So anything that is water soluble, I tell people it can go. So here's just a laundry list of things that you can do. And again, we're really hyper-focused on facial rejuvenation and hair restoration currently, but now we're getting into the world of infusing CAHA and PLLA, so Radius or Sculptra, into the neck in lieu of all these folks with large needles and cannulas. We are now hyper-diluting these products and successfully putting them into the neck and eliminating wrinkles and fine lines in the neck area.
Yeah, and I think, David, that's where, I had my epiphany moment, was, and I told you, I think I texted you that day, was because, I've never done Botox like training. I've never done filler training. So I never wanted to get into it. But you had mentioned the CAHA, which I can't pronounce, what is that stuff? It's like
calcium hydroxyapatite.
Thank you. And, that's something that you infuse to do, like they inject it so that you get structure to the neck, right? Or structure to the jowls.
Yep.
And you don't have this like drooping, sagging skin all over the place. And I have PRP and I had a PRP matrix and I was like, I can take this PRP matrix and infuse it in my jowls and neck. And what it does is, it helps to keep the skin in place so it's not like sagging. And it was like instantaneous, like the change was instantaneous. And I was like, oh my God, because I never understood, like, if somebody's going to inject, if they're going to inject filler into the neck. I thought it was going somewhere really specific, but it's not really, right? It's kind of going all over, and they do it in like a fan. So when you're doing an infusion and you're infusing it with this depth, I mean, it's pretty incredible. And you're getting down to the level where you would inject it anyway. I mean, I think you're going deeper than where you would inject it, are you?
You can get deeper depending on the power setting, but we generally on the neck we leave it right in the middle at 3, and that will definitely get it to where you want it to be. And we have a lot of individuals that now have these real high tech ultrasound machines, so we're in the process of trying to collect the before and afters, if you will, of those. But I have been in the room where we look at it, and we ahead of treatment, then after treatment, you can definitely see that fine white product throughout the dermis that clearly got infused.
Right. And I think that you told me too that you had presented this to a room full of like plastic surgeons who had the same aha moment that we don't have to inject fillers in the neck. Like now you have depth, and this is going to become the standard protocol. Like I've watched those videos and they're disgusting. Like they're like, oh, I'm like, I am not doing that. This is so much nicer. This is so much more incredible.
Yeah, so that moment of epiphany, if you will, Julie and I experienced it together in Miami. My medical director is Dr. Greg Chernoff out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and he and Dr. Shinobe Aguilar and Dr. Sammy and I cannot remember the last lady. I believe it's Dr. Kaufman got up and we're talking about DermoElectroPoration and the fact that you no longer need a cannula or a needle to get these larger molecule items like radius and PLLA into the dermis. You can just hyperdilute it and then work it in using the DEP system. And it does a much easier, pain-free, and a more uniform application than with hitting a plunger or a cannula for that matter.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have to say it a couple times during this presentation because it took me months for that to sink into my head for some reason. I want to make sure that we really drive that point home that you can infuse without needles, like you can inject without needles, like that's unheard of. And here's some, the deliverables that you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, our tagline, and you'll see it in a few minutes, is no needles, no pain, no downtime. So if you're doing microneedling and gliding with whatever, hyaluronic acid, exosomes, PRP, this is a game changer for your practice. So again, back on point. These are just a handful of drugs, and a lot of these we actually mix into concoctions, if you will. So I'm sure that one of the quick questions I'll answer before it gets asked, you don't do one at a time. You actually can layer different products that you'd like to use and infuse appropriately. And we have all the SOPs. We have all the recipes for all that stuff. So, yep.
All right. And a couple of uses here that I think are coming, and I think you have people experimenting with are lidocaine and heparin. I mean, that's not something we'd normally use in the med spa per se, but there's steroids. Like, I mean, there's a lot of potential here if you don't have to inject and you can push down to it. It goes down to 5 millimeters. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You really want to push it deep. Yeah. Aqueous lidocaine is kind of a buzzword that's going around. You'll find people doing it on Instagram. They seem to be able to numb people ahead of what they call a PDO thread, or even a really light microneedling with DermaPen or Skin Pen. So yeah, all sorts of uses that people are actually reaching out to me. Hey, David, I did this. Is this okay? And I'm like, did it work? That's how we're going to grow like a big family, like a big village.
Yeah, because I mean, there's probably so many uses that are going to go beyond what you even thought.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So, and again, just a typical before and after. And this was just a basic hyaluronic acid treatment, probably. Just that's scratching the surface. So so I'm gonna. This is my medical director. These are his before and after. So I need to speak on this before we show these. So Greg has done a 50-person study across all 6 Fitzpatrick scales, so 1 to 6. He has taken some of these are 1 treatment, some of them are 2 treatment over the months. And what he has done is he has photographic evidence, but he also uses something called a quantificare. And that is one of those systems like Visia or Quantificare. There's a couple of them out there that take deeper measurements of wrinkles, lines, and it can actually show progress of a patient's treatment. And it's a really favorable thing because when this paper is released, he looked at not only facial rejuvenation, but he's got a concoction for acne, hyperpigmentation, melasma, eczema, rosacea. We're looking at scars, and of course hair rejuvenation as well. So go ahead and we'll just kind of go through these. I just wanted to explain what the audience would be looking at.
So this is your first picture.
Yeah, she's just a basic rejuvenation. But the acne, and this is with the quantificator, so you can read the report and see a reduction in lines and wrinkles and things like that.
And that's what this is.
Yeah, this is all the scientific data for the white paper that's in peer review right now. So
Okay.
yeah, that's just basically why we show it. It brings validity. I love this. This is a lady with acne. We did 2 treatments on her. So a little hyaluronic acid, a little Botox, a little salicylic acid, and exosomes kind of combined in a syringe, placed on the dermis and infused. And 2 months later, there she is. But there's another more dramatic one. I think there it is. I like this picture a lot. This really shows. And not only that, but it helped with her facial rejuvenation. I believe she's 35, if memory serves me correct.
Mm-hmm.
And the hair restoration. And again, you're doing treatments monthly with a regenerative. I tout Resili exosomes. So you do these treatments 3 to 4 to 5 months, depending on the patient response and depending on maintenance and things like that. But these are results that he got after 6 months doing 3 treatments.
Now, just for the audience, like how, before DEP, how would hair restoration be done?
So with a needle, with like a 32 gauge needle from a syringe, hundreds of sticks into the scalp with either PRP or exosomes.
Yeah, and that's painful.
Yeah. So microneedling on steroids.
Yeah.
And look, they always say, well, we can do a ring block, but easier said than done.
A ring block. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's really painful. I mean, the scalp is extremely vascular, and to do that, to have any guy come in and sit down, it's pure torture. And why would you do that if all you had to do, you could get the same benefit without sticking needles in their head? Just, put the exosomes over the area that you're working on, take the DEP machine, and that energy, that electrical pulse, pushes it down under the skin to where it needs to go, down to the hair follicle, right?
Correct. Yeah. And we're looking at a number of modalities along with the exosomes. I'm going to California next week. I'm meeting with some people that own a proprietary product. It's called chaga mushroom. And the data is out there showing that can assist with hair restoration. So now we're looking to combine that with exosomes made. We're at the tip of the iceberg. I dare say we're at the tip of the iceberg.
And the point that you had made is just that the molecule of whatever you're infusing has to be less than a certain weight, right?
2 million Dalton, but I've yet to encounter anything that isn't water soluble that is 2 million Dalton. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So any like liquid form, like the vitamins and stuff that are out there, could be infused without any problem.
Absolutely. All the vitamin C will do. And, all these skin boosters that are coming out now. In fact, they're not even mentioned in this presentation. Everything's so new. It's passing me by, very quickly. And as we grow, we need to be adding all of these things. So, yeah.
All right, so there's a couple more pictures of hair in here, and it's pretty impressive. And hair restoration, I think it's one of those tough areas that, you want so badly for people to have success. This is clearly a success on this guy.
Yeah, and we are very focused also on feminine hair loss. I don't want to make it out just because we have a gentleman here in our presentation. We're looking at postmenopausal, postpartum, stress, hair loss, things like that. We're adamant about helping the patients, get their hair back, but we're also adamant about the providers who are doing so are finding out what the root issue is, hormonal or what have you as well. We're very adamant on both sides of the fence. We're not just here to promote throwing down exosomes on the scalp and working them in. We need to fix what's going on the inside first, and then that will help the outside.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, that looks great. And then, just for, for people, like if somebody is completely bald and has no like hair follicles,
5 years. If they're over 5 years of losing hair, don't bother.
Don't bother. Okay. Send them to hair transplant or something.
Yep.
Okay. And then, I know there's a use for DEP on the abdomen for other, you were
Right.
seeing other areas.
So this was an abdominoplasty, I believe. And then what he did was he took exosomes and copper peptide, which I'm a huge fan of copper peptide for its anti-aging properties, and infused it a couple times. This was post-operatively, I believe, and this was the result he got using the device. The tightening of the skin, everything.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And it's the problem I had with it in the beginning is it just seems so simple and easy that, how could this thing work? Right?
We've come a long way since that day in January, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, this is the machine itself. It's relatively small. I don't know, what is it?
The laptop
Somebody else
weighs like 8 pounds. Yeah.
Is that you, David? Are you
No, that's not me. I don't have a dog.
Oh, okay. But this is it's about a foot in diameter, right?
I mean, it's a foot maybe in length and about 8.5 inches in diameter, 9 inches in diameter.
Okay. And you can see up here, there's, the one control for current and one for vibration.
Yep.
What is the currents? Like, what does this do?
So that controls the pulsed energy, one being less. So on the face, neck, décolleté, we go anywhere from 1 to 3. From 4 to 5 is anywhere on the trunk and the scalp. It's just a higher setting. And really what that translates into is the water channels remaining open for just a millisecond longer. So if you've got someone that's very comfortable on 2, you bump them up to 3, they're like, that's then you bump it back to 2. It may take you 3 minutes more to do the procedure, but they're going to get the same result.
And what's funny about that is because we have used it, and sometimes you're just like, I'm not sure this is really doing anything, and then you kind of come over to, especially to the side of the face where the hair, and all of a sudden you feel the hair, and I was like, oh, it's definitely doing something.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing is, and I anecdotally tell this story, but we actually had a lady in Tulsa, Oklahoma, fall asleep in the chair while we were treating her one day. I mean, started snoring, and I'm like, wow. So I'm not going to give that guarantee to everybody, but that did happen. So
it is relaxing, especially like 2. You're pretty laid back and relaxed. So what does the vibration do?
So the vibration does nothing medically or efficaciously. It's there for patient distraction, purely. Okay. And the other thing is, and unfortunately this is a really bad picture, but the impedance meter really is kind of the trick to that. You can circle, yeah. So if this machine were on, you'd see flashing blue lights, and what those are is impedance. So what does that mean? Well, product is getting impeded from getting put in anymore. That's you follow that out of the corner of your eyes. You're treating your patient, and that will tell you when it's time to move on. When it's bouncing around anywhere from 1 to 4, the blue lights are going. You're infusing product, but once it starts going to the other side, about 5, 6, 8, it tells you that the product has been infused into the dermis. The analogy that I use is your skin is like a glass of water. The DEP is a pitcher of water, and you're pouring water into the glass. When it starts bouncing over to 6, 8 to 10, the water's overflowing out of the glass, and it's time to fill another glass or move into another area of the dermis.
Yeah, because otherwise you could sit there all day and you're like,
yeah. But what's nice is you have three things that you can do. The first is your eyes. Your eyes will see the product suddenly not be there. You're going to put like 7 mLs on someone's face, and 15 minutes later, it's a sheen, and it went somewhere. The impedance meter is great. It keeps you on track as you're moving around the skin or around the face. And the other thing is, as you start to use the product, the machine will actually drag a little bit across the skin, and that tells you that it's time to move on as well.
Right.
So, and we teach all of that in our training.
All right, so let's go over some features and benefits here.
Yeah, so this is the big one, compared to microneedling, which is the gold standard right now. No erythema, no edema, no blood, no risk of infection. And patients are going to come back and have this done over and over and over again. I don't need to talk about the numbers of people that you retain in a practice that, go and do microneedling for the first time and never show back up again. And again, this is all done like everything else with packages. Just throw that out there. So,
Oh yeah, you definitely want to have packages. And I mean, this can replace microneedling.
Yes. I mean, I tell people I still think the yard should get aerated maybe once or twice a year, just because. But the nice thing is once you if you do a microneedling, you could follow up with a DEP treatment immediately with exosomes and maybe some hyaluronic acid and cut that erythema and edema and downtime in half.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we actually use it after Morpheus, because the
Yeah.
Morpheus, oh my God, I mean, people are like purple by the time they're done. And we started doing the electroporation system with just hyaluronic acid, and sometimes, and that's like enough. I mean, it really, reduces that redness. They can actually go out and people won't be like, oh my God, what happened to you? Like, they go out and that their skin is like, it actually looks really good. And it's hard to tell that they actually just had like a torturous Morpheus procedure right before.
Right.
So yeah, it is really nice.
Okay, here we go. So, yeah, and again, I like to tell people when I first meet them, this is a device. It's under $20,000. In this case, it's under 15,000. It's not a device that's designed to replace anything in your current armament of treatments and machines. It's there to enhance everything that you're currently doing. You can integrate this thing into, as Katie and I were just talking, she's integrated it into her Morpheus, and it's just things like that. So, and again, I spoke on, soothing the skin with exosomes and hyaluronic, and yeah, you can add it into anything. So, and here's the other thing: it's a one-time purchase, and then the disposables are $20. It's a one-time use sterile cap, mandated by the FDA. It also helps with the efficiency of the DermoElectroPoration energy. It keeps the field, in your control in about a 2 centimeter area, and it's very easy to use. And again, no biohazards, no blood. We're not we're a needleless system.
Yeah.
And you can create packages. And here's the other thing: it's safe to use on all Fitzpatricks. You're not going to mess anybody up with a Fitzpatrick of 5 or 6.
Right. And plus this is something that like I said, it's only, maybe 12 inches by 8 inches. So it's portable. You can take it to like expo and convention meetings. You can sit somebody down in the chair and they can have like immediate visible results. I mean, like you'll have people clamoring to get, especially if they don't have to do the fillers. A lot of people don't like doing filler. Like I never wanted to do fillers. I probably needed them. And I definitely needed it for my neck. So this was like, I was so excited for this because I just didn't want people injecting. There's like too many possibilities of things going wrong when somebody's injecting like filler crap into your skin. So when you take that piece away, there's no, like David said, there's no risk of, sticking it in the wrong place or, putting filler in your vessels or, occluding
Including a vessel. Yeah, that was big. Yeah, that was big back in the day when I was at college in aesthetics.
Yeah, I mean, it's still big. It's still a problem, like in the wrong hands. And this takes that away. There's, I mean, is there anything that you could do to hurt somebody with this? Like beat them over the head? Basically.
Well, no. As you know, the 3 contraindications are staying out of the pupil of the eye. You can do underneath the eye and, of course, the eyelid. But really, it's as if they have a pacemaker or any type of like a subdermal pain pump, and then pregnancy. Those are the 3 main contraindications. So
Okay.
no.
So basically, you can't hurt somebody and you can't occlude their vessels.
Right.
Yeah. So it is a practice differentiating device. And it is something, like I said, with all of those plastic surgeons and med spa owners in your audience, where were you, out in Vegas?
Yeah.
That were just like, oh, yes, like this is it. Like people don't want fillers. They want the filler effect, but they don't want to be injected. And if you have to Google some of these videos of them doing like, oh my God, it's so disgusting. Like, it looks like the needle's going to come out and it's just crazy. But this is so much nicer, and a beginner, you don't need a course. You can save thousands by, all you have to do is infuse it in the gels in the neck, and you can't do anything. You really just can't do anything wrong. It'd be really, I don't even know how you would do something wrong, to be honest.
So this I would love to update, and I probably need to sit down and do this. This is easily a year old when I got going with all this, but a basic facial hydrating rejuvenation. So we're real big with nitric oxide, and Julie and I know Katie, you can speak for your experience. I got both of you using that product. That comes from Dr. Chernoff. That starts everything. We always infuse. We always put that on first. Um, it helps with vascularity. It's a vaso dilator. It's wonderful to help our treatment. So all sorts of things. Go ahead and we'll kind of blow through this because this has really got to get updated. Go
Okay.
on IG if you really want to see what's going on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everything.
Callahan.
I mean, this device is moving so rapidly, so fast that David literally can't keep up with all of the new things that are coming out. Which is why he's got a new team with him, which is really exciting, because there are so many protocols that are coming through, and we're all kind of sharing what we find and how we're using it. So this is, like you said, just the tip of the iceberg of the things that you could do. And that nitric oxide is great because you're right, it brings up the vascularity. And then when you infuse hyaluronic acid, like it's so much better. And your skin is so freaking soft. Like, you're just sitting there like touching yourself because you're like, oh gosh, that's what Sue's skin feels like. It's amazing.
Well, what we love about it is the description. Now you're talking, once they're done, they'll go through what you're talking about. But if we're infusing regenerative products like exosomes, that takes a couple weeks, but the mechanism of action will continue. It's just not a one and done. So we're able to like immediately take care of the real fine lines and wrinkles. So the periorals, periorbitals, transverse forehead lines will get softened immediately, and then underneath we've infused all those other products, and they're doing their thing over the course of time. So it's really cool how it works.
Right. And then here you have microneedling facial treatment. Like I said, we use it after any Morpheus procedure. It's just ideal. Hyperhidrosis. So
it's not glamorous, but 4% of the people have it. And in about 2 minutes each axillary, and you're done. And it's more. Mark Nestor did a study for me 3 summers ago. It's 87% more effective than injecting Botox.
Yeah. And how painful is injecting Botox into somebody's armpit? I mean, that's crazy. Yep. I mean, now it's going to be unacceptable. Like it's unacceptable to do that when there is a way to get it in better with zero pain.
Right. And PRP hair restoration, I'd love to change that to exosomes. PRP being health and age dependent. Not to mention it's painful for the patient to have it taken and spun. You uncork a 2.5 ml of Rosilier 10 billion. It takes you about 10-15 minutes to do a head, and they're done. A scalp, and they're done.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, everything. Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. So, no needles, no pain, no downtime. I can't hone this in enough. Like you're able to do Botox without needles. You can do fillers without needles. Now, can you do fillers under the eyes? No, because we can't get the device tip under the eye. Correct, David?
Well, you have to be very, very careful. We can get it under the eye, but it's very technique driven, and it's something I have to teach you. But you can get up under the eye, definitely, and soften, that puppy dog look, if you will.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, I want that training.
I'll be your first date.
Okay. I'll be the guinea pig for it.
Yeah.
All right.
This I definitely need to be pulling out. I mean, this is a brand. It's not a new technology, but it just has never had exposure in the United States. It was big over in Europe. It's big in China and Singapore, where he has reach, but he's never been successful in the United States. That's just how it is. So. And it's a disruptive technology. We haven't had one of these in a long time. So because it's completely different due to its mechanism of action and the results that it provides. I would love to reverse the common thinking out there that you have to have pain to have beauty, because this blows that theory right out of the water.
Yeah. And that was one of the problems we had at the beginning too, because I'm like, where's the pain? Like, it didn't feel right not being tortured, for beauty.
So and some of the challenges, and I'll tell you folks, the results are not instantaneous. I mean, in a day or two, yes. So be sure you take your before and afters. That's the most important thing. Always document everything. And again, going back to my previous point about trauma and inflammation, in the medical field, when you say iontophoresis, people kind of give you a look, but they're really not sure. DermoElectroPoration, I can safely say after the VCS in Vegas 2 weeks ago, it's a buzzword now. So the word is out. I'm getting reached out from people from all over the globe wanting information and wanting to buy the device. So somewhere we, all of us have created a buzz, and I'm very pleased to say that. So yeah, and you know, a lot of people believe that they can achieve the same thing with the current modalities that they have, and it's the furthest thing from the truth. There's
Yeah.
nothing that's like dermoelectroporation.
Right. Yeah, and ultimately, what's going to happen once this really takes hold is that, you know, if I mean, microneedling is going to become like a dinosaur. Like
Yeah.
people are going to be like, "What? You're going to poke a bunch of holes in my face, and that's going to help me somehow?"
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so close to happening. Seriously, so close. Yes.
Well, and the interesting thing is, and look, I don't talk bad about anything, or I don't knock anything, but people are buying into this whole theory of, oh, let's microneedle the patient and then paint exosomes on, and they'll go down those channels and go where they need to go. Now, I'm not a medical provider by any stretch of the imagination, but I've got common sense, and that's all I'm going to say. So here's the laundry list of contraindications. I went through the big three. I do need to let me see if it's in here. We pulled that out. Yeah, there was a contraindication, or I think we have it at the end when it comes to threads, and it's I need to take this off. Here it is right here. The current threads that they're currently in use will not affect the device. This was written probably back in like 16, back when threads were really early on, and especially here in Florida where I'm at right now, they were using filament, almost like fishing wire. So it had some metal element to it. And so we put out kind of a caution or a warning. We're not saying that it's bad, but we're saying that the machine with a DermoElectroPoration passing over those old threads, the patient will get a zinger.
Yeah.
It would be like having static electricity. But time has proven that those are no longer in existence. And the current thread technology, I believe, is PLLA, if memory serves me. They're using some sort of lactic acid and things like that. The device does not have any interference with it whatsoever.
Yeah, they're using a sugar protein, David. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so that won't affect it at all. And I know the next question before it gets asked, no, amalgams and dental work will not affect it. You will have to have your patients remove all their jewelry from the neck up, and that does include septum rings. And if you've got someone with a piercing in their cheek, you're just gonna have to work around it.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
They're out there.
Yeah. I mean, I had a woman who came in and she's like, no, just go over my rings or like piercings and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know about this.
Yeah. So, and again, these are protocols. They're very loose protocols, but we'd like you to see it. We'd like to see a chemical or manual removal of the stratum corneum of the epidermis. It's just a nice thing to do for your patient ahead of aesthetic treatment. It also, the machine will function a little bit better. Then you thoroughly wash with soap and water. And again, the face should be cleaned already after the peel. And then you're ready to follow whichever SOP and concoction you would like to do for depending on what your patient is seeking.
Yeah, and you made a good point when you were up here in January, because you said, like, if you don't clean the face,
yes,
this machine will drive in whatever there. So, like, if you're going to drive in bacteria if you don't clean the face properly, and end with using that alcohol or witch hazel over the face to remove any bacteria, because that's exactly what you'll do, and then you're going to have an unhappy client who's got an purging acne breakout.
Yeah, and the reason I know that is because that happened. Every story that I tell people is something that has happened in the past, and I love to teach by telling stories because that's how you're going to remember it. And that's my Nikki story, by the way.
Yeah. I remembered it. I was like, God, I'm like terrified of, because I mean,
wow, I sunk in.
You sunk in. So this really is the gold standard it's pretty, I mean, it's here, guys, the gold standard in hair and skin rejuvenation. So if you're not using this in 5 years, you'll probably be out of business. Like, it's just one of those things that, patients are going to demand. And it's unlike anything else. There's literally nothing else on the market. So this is the offer that David came up with. The value of this machine at $15,995 for nursepreneurs, people. if you tell them you were on this webinar, they'll take a couple thousand off. You'll be down at $13,995, and it'll include the machine itself. It includes box tips. So on the tip of this handle here, there's a plastic consumable that goes on, which was, as you said, was FDA mandated for this. So those you need tips for that. So you get 6 boxes with that. What's the second handle?
So what it is it has changed actually since you received yours, whereas I gave you 3 handles. So now what they've configured is 1 handle, and the top of the handle pulls off. So it's the hair and then the face are actually done on 1 handle. Saves space and time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this N101, which is what it's nitric oxide, and it will cause like your face gets really red and vascular, and that's a temporary, and it allows for a deeper, more intense infusion of, let's say you use exosomes, and David's including 6 vials of exosomes that you can use for your clients, and 1 bottle of copper peptide. You want to talk a little bit about what, over exosomes and peptides and their role here?
I don't want to steal Julie's thunder, but I'm a huge fan of Resilier exosomes. It's who I believe works. I like the numbers. I like their pricing. It is a very efficacious product. I like the copper peptides. I use Vitali. They're out of Atlanta. They have a serum. It's wonderful. It's really good for anti-aging properties, and it's a very, very effective on darker skin. So 4, 5, and 6 on the Fitzpatrick scale. It just seems to soften the skin, but its real use is with crepey skin. That's really where we're starting to find uses for it, on the thighs, on the arms, even people with crepey skin in their neck and face. So that's kind of where we're finding our sweet spot with it. And the reason I designed the program like this, so it's 1 fee, but it's a business in the box. In other words, when you get this thing, Lori will give you all the marketing, but when the patients walk through the door, you'll understand exactly what you need to do, and you'll already have the supplies there to do it. And when it comes time to seek out other modalities or purchase the same modalities, we have an e-commerce store. You just go in, it's one-stop shopping, everything you need, and it'll be shipped to you.
Yeah, I love it. So for those of you guys, if you have comments, definitely put them in the comment section. We do have a link here, which will take you to a form. And when you complete the form, David and his team will reach back out to you about the device. So tinyurl.com/DepMedicalNP. This is the only way to get your $2,000 discount. Otherwise, you're going to just pay a higher price. So you definitely want to use this form so that David knows it came from here. And yeah, I mean, Julie, you want to talk to us a little bit about exosomes and how you've used them with the DEP?
Absolutely. So, what I like to say is that along with the DEP device being a buzzword, so are exosomes. And there's so many exosome companies out there. And, our product came from the medical world. It's medically derived. It is, age 0. It just has all of the tools in the toolbox of the exosome to be fully functioning, able to make the cells reset, that sort of thing. But what it does best with this DEP device is that, number 1, it does the short-term decrease of any inflammation that they may have going on in their skin, if it's a redness, irritation, whatever, right? After your Morpheus, it just works perfectly with that. It reduces that redness right away. But the long-term effect of it resetting the cells messaging. So it's going to reset those cells to be fully functioning again. And it's not just a joke about, what type of functioning. It is truly a refunctioning, resetting of those cells, because it is age 0 and it does have all of the tools to reset it, to help it to repair. So, the exosomes do work perfectly with this device, and David and I have worked many shows together now, and we just prove over and over again that not only is it the age 0, it's the DEP, and then the copper peptide. Absolutely, I love that that product. The the other products that he has too, they're just great, and it just works really, really well together. I do like the exosomes for the fact that, if we're doing big treatments like the Morpheus, we need to reduce that inflammatory response right away. We need to reduce that redness and the heat so that we don't get PIH, right? I mean, that's our fear in doing any treatments that are really heat inducing or, opening channels and making that inflammatory response happen is PIH. If we can take that away right away, you're making your patient safer. You're giving them a good outcome for their treatment and a long-term effect. So exosomes are the way of the future, just like the DEP device. And you're right. If they don't have it in the next 5 years, wow, they're going to be behind the 8 ball on that. So I do love the device and the treatments that he has put together. So.
Yeah, and really some of those treatments too, in addition to the hydrating face, I mean, you could just do hydrating. You could do that every day and have glowing, hydrating skin for yourself. And, if you're going to be in the med spa industry, you need to you need to walk the walk and do this to yourself. Like this would be
Absolutely. One thing that in my Medi Spa, I do have a Medi Spa up here in California. And one thing that the DEP device does for me is that even after I've done let's just say a lip filler or some sort of filler and got a bruise, I actually infuse exosomes and copper peptide, and it helps to reduce the inflammation from the bruising and it takes up the bruising faster instead of having to get out, and a laser of some sort. I just use the DEP. It's so much safer to drive my products in, and I get great results with that too. So. Yeah. I try not to bruise people, but it happens.
I love that. Yeah, David, you didn't tell me that one.
He also didn't tell you about the using the aqueous lidocaine for numbing prior to your treatments.
Oh, you have to tell me this one.
Yeah, I glossed over it. I'm still waiting.
You did gloss over that. That's why I'm coming back to it, because I don't think it was fleshed out enough.
Well, there's a brand out there that Scott uses, and I'm after his wife to tell me which one it is. So I when I speak about it, I want to be able to speak intelligently.
Right. Well, tell me the concept. We don't have to talk about brand names. What is
it? Scott he put it on Instagram or else, but so apparently he got a hold of some aqueous lidocaine and infused it into a lady's face, and then did a PDO thread lift on her, and she sat there still as a mouse. And he was, just talking about how it took him 5 minutes to infuse it. He let it set up for a couple minutes, and then went ahead and did her threads, and she was fine. So,
that's a game changer. One for, if that works for threads, it probably would work for Morpheus, right? Because I have to sit there for an hour waiting for this plasticized gel crap to, take effect.
Kate, I think you and I talked about this. It works fine for the Morpheus needles. It's the burst of energy going down and out. That's where the problem is. And Julie and I, we speak to this ad nauseum at the meetings. I tell people I can solve the problem with the needles, but the burst of energy, I can't fix that.
Yeah, but it does.
Go ahead, Julie.
Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
No,
it does help with. It does help with the treatment in general. Like I have the radiofrequency microneedling Silfirm device, and it's much better than pain wise than the Morpheus anyway. But it really does make the patient not feel that initial poke of those needles. And now I'm doing, I actually do just so everybody knows, I use a lidocaine directly from a bottle. And it works super well for me in any of my little mini threads or my microneedling. So, I understand you have to have water soluble, blah, 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 but it really does make a difference. And it's a 5-minute treatment. And then they're ready to go within, maybe 10 minutes at most. And that treatment in itself is just a game changer for my practice. I'm in and out in an hour for a treatment that would normally be numbing for 45 minutes and then 45 minutes of doing a treatment. So, the DEP has more game changers by just this one little device that is super lightweight. FYI, you can take it anywhere, which I do for my Botox events and stuff, and you just throw it in a backpack and it's ready to go. But it's a game changer for the numbing, the hair treatments. You don't need numbing for the hair treatments. You don't need numbing for some of those hyperdilute radius treatments. You just don't need a lot of extra time. It just does a great job. And I'm really excited to have it in my practice and to, do these demos and these shows with David, because I really do believe in that treatment. It's a game changer.
So Julie, how do you use it with Botox?
So I like my concoctions. So when I'm doing Botox, I actually use my exosomes. I'll use a small amount of HA, and then I'll put, like, if I wanted to just give a glass glow kind of treatment, then I'll only use like 20 units of Botox and just do a full face infusion. I usually leave the energy between 1 and 2, so I'm not going super deep and driving it super deep into the skin for just that glow treatment. Very superficial. It's very, very quick, and they leave glowy. This is perfect for like a couple of days before a wedding. You can have people come in and have like that copper peptide and hyaluronic acid and, a little bit of Botox glow and that sort of thing. And it works super fast and very effective. So if you have someone who has a lot of like oily skin, you can use the toxin in a really nice, quick little treatment and help that for about 6 to 8 weeks for their oily skin.
Okay, and just for clarification, because I'm thinking you're infusing Botox all over the face, and now they're like, they can't move at all. So that doesn't happen.
No. So again, you use the energy to kind of allow it to infuse in. And if you're not using more than like the 1 or 2 energy pulse, you're not going to be driving it in like you would a hair treatment at the 5. So there's some customizing that you would want to do, but absolutely, it looks great. There is no paralysis anywhere in the skin that you did, in the muscles that you didn't want. And it's perfect that way. I still inject Botox for the injection places. I'm not going to give that up. I like the precision of what I do. And I definitely don't want to just be willy-nilly, going with my Botox. But for those, the Botox glows skin, topical skin treatments, this is an amazing treatment option.
Is it it's microdosing, right? We're mimicking.
It's called microdosing. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Microtox dosing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get that protocol?
Yes. Yes. I absolutely love it for so many different things. David and I, we were just talking at VCS with someone, and we're all basically doing cellulite treatments as well. There's so many fun protocols that you can have just a really great treatment protocol plan for your patients head to toe.
Yep. Truly. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So if you're interested in the DEP machine for your wellness or med spa, even IV hydration, it all kind of fits into this. And, this would be something that you really need to check out. We will be sharing protocols, and David's got a lot, and there's a lot coming in because he's got a very wide reach at this point, and a lot of people doing some pioneering work with this machine because it is amazing. The possibilities are going to keep coming in. And again, if you're not using DermoElectroPoration in the next 5 years, you will definitely be behind the 8 ball, and patients are not going to want to be stuck when they don't have to be anymore. So Just go to tinyurl.com/DepMedicalNP to get your discount, to get all these protocols that we're talking about, and just to be, part of our group, so that we can share even more stuff with you. So, Julie, David, any last things you want to say here?
Yeah, if there's any questions, I guess they put it in this chat box. I'm here. I've had this device for 3 years and really got it formally launched last fall, early this winter. So if anybody has any particular questions, I'd love to answer them.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for coming out today and sharing all this. We'll be sending this out to our audience. It's available on YouTube. If you have questions, you can drop them in YouTube and we'll answer them in real time.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, everybody.